You want to stay? Then pay the bill. It's $4,800, Mary. Don't be cheap. Vanessa shoved the credit card machine into my chest before I even stepped fully inside the penthouse. My parents were watching. Thomas was watching. They weren't embarrassed that they were extorting me in front of 50 guests. They were expectant. Fine, I said. I pulled out my black card. I swiped. I signed. I didn't scream. I simply left the receipt on the table and walked out. Vanessa snatched the paper up, grinning like she'd just outsmarted me. She didn't realize she'd just collected the first piece of evidence for her own felony trial. I stepped into the elevator and watched the numbers drop. 40 floors. 2 minutes. That was all it took to leave my family behind. The silence in the car was heavy, but it wasn't sad. It was clarity. I realized something as the doors slid shut on the sound of champagne corks. They didn't invite me because they missed me. They invited me because the terminal was declined. My presence only had value when it came with a transaction fee. The moment the machine beeped, I realized I wasn't their daughter. I was their financial instrument. And instruments don't have feelings. They have utility. I walked out of the lobby and into the Chicago night. The valet brought my car around, and I slid into the leather seat of my Audi. I didn't go home. I just drove. I needed the motion. I needed to remind myself of who I actually was. To my family, I was Mary, the uptight sister who refused to support her brother's genius. To the rest of the city, I was the person you called when your company was bleeding out. I am a corporate crisis manager. I liquidate assets. I fire executives who embezzle funds. I strip failing businesses down to the studs and sell the scrap. I am very good at spotting a bad investment. And tonight, I finally admitted that my family was a bad investment. I turned onto Lakeshore Drive, the city lights blurring past. I thought about the penthouse I had just left. The irony was sharp enough to cut. Thomas and Vanessa were up there right now, toasting to their success in a home they didn't own. They told everyone it was theirs. They told our parents that Thomas had bought it 3 years ago with a massive crypto windfall. That was the lie that poisoned everything. Thomas had looked my father in the eye and said, "Mary is just holding the deed as a trustee because of her tax bracket. It's my house. She's just the paper pusher." That lie was why my parents hated me. They thought I was hoarding their son's wealth. They thought I was controlling his asset, refusing to let him sell it to fund his dreams. They didn't know the truth because I never told them. I never told them that Thomas came to me 3 years ago, sobbing in a Starbucks, homeless and owing $40,000 to a bookie. I never told them I bought that penthouse as an investment property and let him live there rent-free so he wouldn't get his legs broken. I kept his secret to protect their image of him. I pulled over by the lake and killed the engine. The water was black and restless. I had spent 3 years playing the villain in their story, so Thomas could play the hero. I let them call me stingy. I let them call me jealous. I swallowed every insult because I thought that was what a good sister did. I thought if I saved him enough times, eventually he would grow up. But he didn't grow up. He just got better at spending money he didn't earn. I looked at the receipt on the passenger seat. $4,800. That was the severance package. I picked up my phone and opened my contacts. I scrolled past Mom and Dad. I stopped at Jordan. I didn't call him yet. I just stared at the name. Jordan knew where the bodies were buried because he helped me dig the graves. If I brought him into this, there was no going back. It wouldn't be a family dispute anymore. It would be a liquidation. I tapped the screen. I wasn't the trustee anymore. I was the landlord. And the tenants were overdue. The resentment didn't start with the penthouse. It started 5 years ago, at a kitchen table that smelled like lemon polish and desperation. I remember watching my parents sign the deed to their retirement home, the one they had spent 30 years paying off. They weren't downsizing, they were liquidating. They handed a check for $200,000 to Thomas because he had convinced them he had a proprietary trading algorithm that couldn't fail. I begged them not to do it. I showed them the math. I showed them the risks. My father just looked at me with cold eyes and said, "You've always been jealous of his potential, Mary. He's a sleeping giant. You're just safe." Thomas lost every cent in 90 days. The giant didn't wake up, he just rolled over and crushed their future. But they didn't blame him. They couldn't. Admitting Thomas was a failure meant admitting they had thrown their life savings into a fire. So, they rewrote history. The market was rigged. The timing was unlucky. And me? I became the villain for having a savings account, while they struggled. They looked at my stability not as an achievement, but as an insult to their sacrifice. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, snapping me back to the present. I picked it up, expecting an apology for the ambush at the party. I should have known better. "Next time, fix your face," Thomas texted. "You looked like you were smelling garbage when you paid. You embarrassed Mom." A second text popped up from Vanessa. "We need to talk about boundaries, Mary. You can't just flash your money around and expect us to bow down. It's tacky. I stared at the screen. They had just extorted nearly $5,000 from me, and they were lecturing me on etiquette. They weren't sorry. They were emboldened. They thought they had trained me well. I opened my laptop right there in the car. If I was going to go to war, I needed to know the terrain. I didn't need to hack anything. I'm a crisis manager. I know where to look. Public court records are a goldmine if you know the right search terms. I pulled up Vanessa's file. It wasn't a portfolio. It was a crime scene. Civil judgments from 3 different credit card companies. A lien on a car she claimed she owned outright. Total unsecured debt, $85,000. She wasn't an influencer. She was a financial corpse walking. She was drowning. And she was using my brother as a life raft. I closed the laptop. The pieces clicked into place. The desperation at the party. The aggressive demand for payment. It wasn't just greed. It was panic. They needed cash. And they needed it fast. The loan sharks were circling. They wanted money? Fine. I wouldn't give them a loan. I wouldn't give them a handout. I would give them something much more dangerous. I would give them hope. I would feed their delusion until it got so big it burst. I started the car. I had a meeting to arrange. I walked into Jordan's office at 9 sharp. The room smelled of old leather and expensive cologne. Jordan wasn't just a lawyer. He was a shark in a 3-piece suit. He'd helped me hostile takeover a failing logistics firm last year. He knew how to smell blood in the water. I don't need you to be my attorney today, I said, sliding Vanessa's credit report across his mahogany desk. I need you to be an angel. Jordan picked up the file. He raised an eyebrow at the debt figures. 85,000 in unsecured credit? She's drowning, Mary. She's not drowning. She's starving for attention, I corrected. I want you to offer her a lifeline, a $500,000 investment into her lifestyle brand. You represent a private equity fund looking for bold, new voices. Jordan leaned back, a wolfish grin spreading across his face. He understood the game immediately. And the catch? Collateral? I said. You love the brand, but the fund requires hard assets to secure the loan. You need them to put up their primary residence. The penthouse, Jordan said. The one they don't own. Exactly. They've told everyone in Chicago it's theirs. If they admit it's not, they lose the deal and the face. If they lie, they commit fraud. Jordan finished. He closed the file. I'll book a table at the Drake. 2 days later, I sat in my car across the street from the restaurant, listening through the open line on Jordan's phone. He had placed it face down on the table. The audio was crisp. I heard the clinking of silverware and Vanessa's high-pitched, performative laugh. Jordan was playing them like a fiddle. He wasn't talking about spreadsheets or ROI. He was talking about vision and influence. He was feeding Vanessa the exact script she wanted to hear, that she was a genius held back by a lack of capital. The market is ready for you, Vanessa. Jordan's voice came through the speaker, smooth as silk. My partners are very impressed with your aesthetic. We're ready to move forward with the $500,000 seed round immediately. I heard Thomas gasp. 500,000? Up front? Wire transfer within 24 hours of signing, Jordan confirmed. Standard procedure. We just need to finalize the security agreement. Since the brand is new, we secure the initial capital against real estate. I assume the penthouse is in your name? I pulled the property records. It's a prime asset. The silence that followed was heavy. I held my breath. This was the moment. They could tell the truth. They could say, actually, we rent. They could walk away. Of course, Thomas said. His voice didn't even shake. I bought it 3 years ago. Cash. Excellent, Jordan said. I could practically hear him sliding the contract across the table. Then it's simple. We just need you to sign the collateral agreement as the property owners. Once that's done, the money is yours. We don't have the deed on us, Vanessa stammered. I could hear the greed warring with the panic in her voice. No problem, Jordan said, dismissive. I'll email the paperwork. Just get it signed and notarized by Monday. Or, since I know you're busy people, you can execute a power of attorney for the property transaction. Whatever is easiest. We'll handle it, Thomas said quickly. Consider it done. I cut the connection. They had taken the bait. They didn't just lie to a stranger. They lied to a financier. They walked out of that lunch thinking they had won the lottery. They didn't realize they had just agreed to sell a house they didn't own. Now, they were desperate. And desperate people make fatal mistakes. I spent Sunday morning watching a silent movie on my laptop. The grainy black and white feed from the hidden security camera in the penthouse living room flickered. I'd installed it years ago when I bought the place, mostly to keep an eye on contractors. I never thought I'd use it to watch my brother commit a felony. Thomas was pacing. He looked like a caged animal, sweating through his shirt even though the thermostat was set to 70. Vanessa sat on the sofa, surrounded by paperwork Jordan had emailed over. She wasn't panicking, she was scheming. "We can't sign this, Van," Thomas said. The audio was tinny but clear. "The power of attorney requires a notary. We can't get Mary to sign it. She hates us right now." "She doesn't hate us. She's just jealous," Vanessa snapped. "And we don't need her to sign it. We just need it signed." "That's fraud," Thomas whispered. He sank onto the ottoman, head in his hands. "If we get caught, it's prison time. Real prison. Not the movies. If we don't get that money, the loan sharks break your legs," Vanessa countered. Her voice was cold, pragmatic. And Jordan said, "The investors are superstitious. They don't want a notary meeting. They just want the paper filed. We mail it in. By the time anyone checks, the wire transfer will clear, we pay off the sharks, and we pay Mary back before she even notices the lien. She's a doormat, Thomas. She paid $5,000 for a party she was kicked out of. She won't send her own brother to jail." She stood up and walked to the sideboard near the dining table. She started rummaging through a stack of mail and debris from the party. My breath hitched. I knew what she was looking for. She pulled out a crumpled slip of thermal paper, the merchant receipt from the catering bill. The one I had signed with a sharp, angry scrawl just 2 nights ago. Vanessa held it up to the window, letting the morning light bleed through it. She placed the power of attorney document over the receipt. It was crude, but effective. She grabbed a blue pen. "Don't," I whispered to the screen. "Don't do it, Thomas. Stop her." Thomas just watched. He didn't move. He didn't protest. He let his wife trace my name onto a legal document that would mortgage a $2 million property I owned to secure a loan they would never repay. He watched her turn him into a criminal because he was too weak to stop her. Vanessa finished the signature with a flourish. She held it up. "Done. It looks perfect." "You're sure?" Thomas whispered. "I'm sure. Jordan gets it tomorrow. By Tuesday. We're rich." I closed my laptop, chilled by how easily they crossed from greedy to predatory. My phone rang. "I've got a courier alert," Jordan said. "From the penthouse. They forged it." Vanessa traced my signature. "Then we've got them wire fraud and forgery." "Want me to call police?" "Not yet. I want my parents to see it. Set a meeting Monday. Tell them Thomas is closing the biggest deal of his life. Mary, this will destroy them." "Good." Monday morning, my parents sat in a soundproof observation room behind one-way glass, told to stay silent so they wouldn't spook investors. They stared eagerly into Jordan's office, unaware I stood behind them in the dark. Thomas and Vanessa swaggered in. Jordan tapped the forged paperwork. "Before wiring funds, I need clarity on the crypto trail." Thomas laughed. "Gone. Burned my parents' retirement on altcoins months ago." My mother gasped. My father went gray. "They still think you're brilliant," Jordan pressed. "They think whatever I tell them. Sold their house for me. Once the money lands, I'll toss them a few grand." I opened the connecting door. Jordan folded his arms. "She's the client and you just confessed on tape." I slammed papers onto the desk. "Exhibit A, the receipt you made me sign. Exhibit B, the forged power of attorney. Same signature. Exhibit C, 5 years of mortgage payments. Mine. You told Mom and Dad I stole from you to hide your failure." My parents entered, shaking. "You called us idiots," my father whispered. "There is no deal," Jordan said. "Only the district attorney." He listed the charges. I slid forward a single sheet. "Sign this. No claim to the penthouse, my assets, or future inheritance. Vacate in 60 minutes and disappear, or we call the DA." They signed. "Get out." They fled. Later, the contract went into the shredder. The penthouse was cleaned. The locks changed. On the balcony, cold wind off Lake Michigan, my phone buzzed. "I'm sorry. Delete. Block. I didn't lose a family. I gained a future. If you are the bank, the fixer, or the doormat, close the account."